Hello student, welcome to the third unit, Digital Memories and Logic Families of the course Analog and Digital Electronics. Here I am Mr. C.R. Sindhe from Electrical Engineering Department of Matusri College of Engineering and Research Center, Nasik. In this third unit, in the first module, second module and third modules, we successively cover the digital memories. In the last module, we cover the programmable array logic, that is the PAL, which is belonging to the digital family, which is belonging to the programmable logic devices, PLDs. We have to already discuss in the last modules. In this fourth modules, we discuss the PLA, that is the programmable logic array. Okay, so let's move to the programmable logic array. What is the difference between PAL? What is the PLA? So we studied in the next proceeding slides. In this first introductions, we are going to be studying. Then block diagrams of the PLA, basic internal structure of the PLA, and then we move toward the as usual advantages and disadvantages as well as the applications of programmable logic array. And finally, we compare the PAL and the PLA, both array devices, both programmable logic devices. Okay. So classifications of the PLD, as the PLD is classified as a simple programmable logic device, then complex programmable logic device, we call it as the CPLD, and field programmable gate array, that is the FPGA. This SPLD is broadly classified as the PAL and the PLA, that is nothing but programmable array logic and programmable logic array. So in this fourth module we studied this PLA. Okay, so this is the basic block diagrams of this PLA, in which you have to clearly see that the AND array is also programmable, which is followed by this OR array, which is also programmable. Means the input signal is available, so which is handled by this programmable AND array, and then it's giving to the programmable OR array. Means whatever the input is available signal, that can be ANDed first and then it can be ORed later, and means output we are getting in the form of SOP, that is the sum of product terms, nothing but in another alternate way we call it as the main terms. Okay, so in this way this PLA can be working. This is the block diagrams of what are the different blocks are mentioned in the PLA. So this first block is the input buffer blocks. It mainly consists number of logic gates. It's mainly consists of the not logic gates having two outputs, one for the complemented variable and another for the non-complemented variable. So the input buffer, so input signal, it can be handled by this input buffer first block, and accordingly it can be generated the complemented and uncomplemented outputs. Okay, then output of this input buffer is giving to this second block, namely as the AND array, which is programmable. Okay, so this AND array perform ANDing operations on the input signals, which is in the form of the complemented and non-complemented form, and accordingly it can be giving output to the OR array, as we have to already studied. The input firstly is ANDed operations can be performed, and then it can be giving to the OR operation, that is nothing but the sum of product terms. Is the product here ANDed array can be made it, and once the product is made here, then product is giving to this OR array for addition purpose. So in this way the sum of product terms can be done. So OR array is also programmable, and according to our requirement, according to our application, so it can be programmed both AND and OR array. And then the product of this OR array, which is in the form of SOP, is giving to the inverting and non-inverting logic program. So this inverting and non-inverting logic programming can accordingly perform the operations of which variable is inverting and which variable is non-inverting, and accordingly it can generate the outputs which is giving to the output buffers. See, the output buffers consist of the XOR, and how it can be works we have to see it in next slide. So this is the basic structure, basic internal structure of PLA. In this basic internal structure of PLA, you have to clearly see that this is a NOT logic gates array, and we call it as the input buffer array. Okay, if this I0 is in the form of non-complemented, so it is available from this line, data line. If it is complemented, so it is available from this I0 bar, that is the complemented form. So both line is available in this way. Number of logic gates multiplied by 2, that is the output is the 2. So that's why that number of lines, data lines is available in this PLA. Okay, and this cross is indicating the data is generated non-complemented form. Then the data is generated non-complemented form. Here the complemented data can be generated, so it can be indicated by the cross. Okay, so the output of this input buffer is indicating by the cross signs, means it can be programmed accordingly, and the output of this input buffer is giving to this AND array. So this is the number of the AND logic gates are connected here. Okay, and number of 8 input lines is available as an input for this AND logic gates. So AND logic gates performing the AND operations accordingly, inverted, non-inverted variables, it can be produces the output, and that produced output is indicated by this solid square as well as this hollow circle. Okay, so this hollow circle is nothing but it's a blown of the fuses, and this solid square is nothing but that particular output can be programmed. Okay, so in this way this programmable AND array can be programmed by indicating a square which is a solid square. Okay, so which is stored as a 1, and whenever there is a this hollow circle, it means that it's store a logic 0 also. Okay, so store logic 1, store logic 0 as per according to our programming, as per according to our applications. And once the programmable AND can be done, so output is giving to this OR array sections. This is the third functional block, and according to inputs it can be performing the OR operations on that and ANDed operations done by this previous functional block, and it giving to the last block, which is nothing but inverting, non-inverting output logics. So this inverting, non-inverting output buffering logics, it consists of a tri-state, nothing but the 3 state is there. Okay, so this inverting and non-inverting output logic, this XOR gate, one of the input terminal is grounded and only the one input terminal is available for following the previous output generated by the OR array. If the fuse is present, then the output is true, and if the input of the XOR gate is logic 1, that is the fuse is blown, then the output is complemented. In this circuit, if the switch is open, then the output is complemented, and if the switch is closed, then the output is true. Because here in this case of this NOT logic gates, this NOT logic gates is again consist of having a switch. If the switch is open, then the output is complemented, and if the switch is closed, then the output is non-complemented form can be generated. So in this way, according to basic structure, this PLA can be worked. Now let's move to the advantages of PLA. PLA basic design requires a very less time, because when it is desired to build a logic devices for implementing some functions, the development and implementation time required will be a few months up to the years. But in case of the PLA basic design, it requires a very less time. Design can also be quickly tested. The design checking and validations can be done with the help of the PLA software tools, and this allow the quick incorporations of the design changes if any, and hence the design can also be quickly tested. So design layout is much simple and offer a very high flexibility to the user. This is the one of the advantages, and they can be produced in very large volume. They can produce very large volumes. It's possible because of this simplifications. The connections of the mass need to be a custom made, and accordingly it can be generated the mass productions, that is the large volume we are able to be generated. Now let's move to the disadvantages. So there are three disadvantages. The product terms count restrict the applications of PLA. Means the product terms which is generated by the output is very restricted applications in case of our PLA. So that once it becomes to be a one of the disadvantage of PLA, and it is not easy to use because it's a convergence of AND array programming to OR array programming is very complicated, and inverting and non-inverting output logic is also very complicated. So that's why it is not easy to use. It is difficult to manufacture, test and programs as compared to the PAL. If we compare this PLA with PAL, then it is very difficult to manufacture because of this complexity as well as test and programs. So this is the disadvantages. Applications where we use the PLA. So PLA is used as a counter, as a decoder, and this PLA is used to provide a control over the data path. If there is a data path is there, if we want to control that data path, then PLA is used. And in case of the program input output, PLA is used as the bus interface. That is the applications of PLA. Now we are compare PLA with the PAL. In PLA, both AND and OR array are programmed, but in case of our PAL, only the AND array is programmed and the OR array is the fixed one. There is the basic difference between the PLA and PAL. Then PLA is the costly and complex because of the both are programs as well as the number of logic gates is required to be large. And in case of the PAL, they are very simple because only the AND array is required to be programmed, OR array is already fixed. PLA AND array can be programmed to get a desired minterms. Similarly, PAL AND array can be programmed to get desired a maxterm also as well as minterms also. So PLA, any Boolean functions can be SOP forms can be implemented using PLA. Similarly, the SOP forms Boolean functions is implemented using PAL. Means these both are used to produce the basic functional of Boolean algebra in the form of SOP is required. So in this fourth module, we studied the introductions, then we studied the block diagram of PLA, then we studied the basic structure of PLA, advantages, disadvantages of PLA, and then lastly we compare the PAL with the PLA. That is a programmable array logic with programmable logic array. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any query, so ask me anytime on this my personal gmail.com, my official gmail.coms and my personal WhatsApp. Thank you.